As it stands right now, these are the biggest position strengths that the Sun Devils football team has on their roster.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Thanks as always for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. Wherever you're getting your podcast, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. You can stay in touch with that content by following me on Twitter. You can find me at RichieBrads36 and the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time to get back into our conversations about Sun Devils football. Yesterday's podcast talked about the state of the basketball team. Check that one out if you haven't. And quick housekeeping, we are going to be making sure that we cover basketball every single week. So starting on Sunday, we are going to have a basketball dedicated episode. So even if we go 5 episodes Monday through Friday or a Saturday episode, whatever it is, all football, Sunday will be a solely focused on basketball podcast, wrapping up the recent games, anything that you need to know. And of course, if we have more to talk about, we'll do it during the week, but we are guaranteeing you a basketball episode at least once a week. So now that you know that, we're going to get into today's conversation. The meat and potatoes here is talking about the areas of strength that the Sun Devils football team has going into this offseason, going into spring camp. That'll be towards the end of March. So we have a little less than 2.5 months until we really get to start to see everyone and how everything's going to work with all the transfers, any of the incoming freshmen that were able to graduate over the winter to become eligible for the spring camp. We'll wait and see. But as of right now, we're going to be jumping into the biggest points of strength that the Sun Devils have as a team right now. To me, there's really 4 major points of strength and then one more spot that we're going to talk about right now, and that's the quarterback position. If there was an honorable mention here, it would be quarterback. Of these 5 positions here, I would put quarterback at 5, and let me explain. So you're going into this offseason with 3 potential starting quarterbacks. There's the very obvious one of Jaden Rashada. It's very well documented how I feel about him, but if you're new here, let me explain. Jaden Rashada is the future of this program. He played 3 games last year. He looked like a freshman. He had some highs, he had some lows. He now has a full year under his belt of learning the playbook. He has a full year under his belt of getting to know some of his weapons like Elijhah Badger and Cameron Skattebo and Bryce Pierre, among other guys. He's gotten a year under his belt of creating chemistry with Kenny Dillingham. And yes, Bo Baldwin has gone for Marcus Arroyo as the offensive coordinator, but he still has consistency with the guy who was calling plays last year. And Arroyo is going to be able to communicate with Rashada as a quarterback's coach as well, and they're going to be able to build a bond with each other. So right now, I look at that as a potential point of strength for the team, especially when you factor in everything that Jaden Rashada brings to the table for you. I mean, this is a terrific athlete. He can move, he can throw the ball far, he's got the poise in the pocket. Like this is a specimen of a quarterback at 6'4". I think he's right around 200 pounds. I would imagine he's bulked up a little bit since he first got to campus. He looks the part, right? He passes the eyeball test. From there, it's about the other qualities he has. For one, he's got a massive arm. I mean, he can chuck that thing down the field at least 60 yards. I wouldn't be surprised. He can throw heat too. I mean, this is not a guy that I worry about throwing outside the hashes either. There's not a throw he can't make. Now it's a matter of getting him to that point where he is that kind of player. But as far as intangibles go, He has that. He's also a very gifted athlete. Look, he's not going to be the guy who kills you for 1,000 yards or anything, but he is the guy who's going to be able to step into the pocket, break out of the pocket, do those bootlegs, those options, all that sort of stuff. He brings to the table that kind of ability and that capacity as an athlete to be able to beat you with his legs. He's not afraid to run, but he is someone that is looking to pass. And that's what I really like about him. But even if he doesn't work out, you've got Trenton Bourguet is back. Bourguet coming off of for all intents and purposes, a bad season, but it was a bad season for nearly everybody, especially on the offensive side of the football. Bourguet has shown in the past he is capable of being the starting quarterback. In the 2022 season, when Emory Jones went down, Bourguet stepped in and the offense really started ticking and everything started going in the right direction. And more than anything, I mean, he's that veteran presence too in the locker room and in the quarterback position. He's been with the program for, 2 decades at this point is what it feels like. But he is just somebody that you look at as the leader of the team. And not so much the rah-rah guy, but somebody who just shows what it means to be a Sun Devil and shows what it means to be a team first player, because he might not start a game this year. He might not attempt to pass this year, but he's still going to be the guy who's going to be rooting on his teammates, whether he's on the bench or whether he's on the field, whatever it is. I believe in Trenton Bourguet to be that depth piece for you. But you have him there in your back pocket as somebody who's got playing experience and somebody who, in a pinch, worst case scenario, I wouldn't feel terrible about him coming in. Am I as excited as Jaden Rashada? No, of course not. But I still look at Trenton Bourguet as like yeah, you know what? I think we could be doing a lot worse. That's how I think he's going to be in terms of like that backup quarterback. But then you have Sam Leavitt as well. Leavitt transferred from Michigan State. He was also in the 2023 recruiting cycle with Jaden Rashada, also a 4-star prospect. This kid's got a little bit of everything. I could not tell you his biggest strengths, his biggest weaknesses. All I know is he brings good size, some athleticism, a decent arm. He's going to be good competition for Jaden Rashada. And Kenny Dillingham had kind of let Bourguet, and really just let the team know, hey, during the offseason, we're going to be bringing in a lot of competition. And quarterback was at the forefront of that. And Rashada and Bourguet both said the same thing. They said, bring him in. We like the competition. The iron sharpens iron. They welcome Sam Leavitt here. And Leavitt is going to be probably QB2 right now. I will go out there and say that right now he is QB2. There's a reason that he was highly recruited. He got a little bit of playing time at Michigan State, but for the majority of the Michigan State Spartans season, they were just not overly competitive, if at all. Like, Sam Leavitt is coming to a school that has a little bit of an open competition, but at the end of the day, I feel like this is definitely more of an iron sharpens iron kind of mentality that they're bringing in here. I really like the upside he brings, but in a worst case scenario, he could be, your quarterback one. And if he's as talented as Jaden Rashada is, maybe you're not losing sleep. But best case scenario, he's a very talented quarterback too. I will definitely have to take a closer look at him and see what his strengths and weaknesses are for myself, courtesy of YouTube, scouting reports, and everything. But I will take a look at that so I can be a little more informed. But until then, I mean, you've got 3 starting quality quarterbacks. Yeah, it's a point of strength for you. Now, compared to these other positions, I would tell you that it's not nearly as deep. And I'll tell you why in just a moment as we talk about more of the strongest positions on this Sun Devils roster right now. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NFL regular season is all done, but the playoffs, they're right here. And you can get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers are getting $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app's easy to use, and there's a variety of different ways you can bet. There's those live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab, and you can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays and so many more options. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Again, thanks as always for tuning in. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Of course, I got to tell you guys about the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. So biggest stories of the day, they're going to have you covered. They're going to let you know about everything that's going on in every league, at the pro level, at the college level, whatever it is. You're going to be staying up to date, plus our national shows, all that good stuff. Check it out. It's free to subscribe and have something to put on whenever you've got some boring time to yourself, or when you're trying to find something on YouTube to watch while you eat. Check out Locked On Sports Today. Back into our conversation now. Let's go ahead and really dive into our biggest areas of strength. We kind of went through our honorable mention of quarterback. Like I said, quarterback definitely a point of strength for me. The reason why I don't have it in the same tier as these four is because only one guy is going to start. You can like the depth all you want, but at the end of the day, if only one of those players is starting, to me, it's hard to call it a point of strength. Maybe it's different if like this is a Oklahoma Sooners situation from like 10 years ago, which is crazy to think it was 10 years ago, of like Landry Jones, your quarterback, and Blake Bell, the belldozer, is the backup guy who comes in for like running situations. Maybe then it's different, but you don't have that situation. However, what you do have is an abundance of talent at your skill positions. We'll start at receiver. To me, receiver is, oh man, it's either your first or your second deepest position right now. I think for sake of argument, I'm going to go with number one point of strength. And it starts with Elijhah Badger, because Badger is on his way to being one of the best Sun Devil receivers of the last 10 years. And statistically could be one of the 10 best ever. So we'll see whether he ends up that far. But man, Mr. Do-It-All. He's a good route runner. He's good size at 6'1", just about 200 pounds. He's quick. He catches the ball well. He can get the ball out of the backfield. He's got return man prowess. He does everything. He's one of the best kept secrets in no longer the Pac-12, now the Big 12. Nobody talks about him. And I feel like we said this last year, at this time last year, that he was going to break out, but that was very hard to do when you were catching passes from four different quarterbacks. If the Sun Devils find stability at quarterback this year, and as long as everyone's healthy, I don't know why you wouldn't. We can't predict injuries, obviously, but I'm very much in on Jaden Rashada. I think that the Sun Devils offense is going to be much improved. Elijhah Badger is going to break out. And when, not if, when Elijhah Badger breaks out, you're going to have a stud number one receiver. But there's guys beyond him. Jake Smith, that's the guy to get excited about. Had to miss last year because the NCAA was flexing all of their strength and power over these kids' eligibility stuff. It's not like Jake Smith was transferring to his fifth school just for funsies. There was some injury stuff behind the scenes, and bottom line, they really screwed him. But he's back. He's got a year learning the playbook. He's got a year getting to know Rashad Samples, the wide receivers coach, getting to know Trenton Bourguet and Jaden Rashada and Kenny Dillingham. Everyone. He is coming in. I feel like that's your number 2 receiver right now. And I don't know if it's particularly close, especially because if Jake Smith is healthy and Jake Smith is wired and good to go, pound for pound, he might be the most talented receiver on this roster. He's got a little bit of everything to him. I mean, this is a guy that based off of talent, he feels like a next level player. We'll see if he ever gets to that point. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is if everything clicks, this kid's a stud. And getting him on the field across from Badger, man, that's crazy. But beyond them, Troy O'Mary, quickly have fallen in love with him for the big size he brings, the red zone ability, and somebody who really came on strong down the stretch of the year. He's got the big post-up size at 6'4" to be the bully receiver, 50-50 guy in the end zone, or just 50-50 balls in general. I like him a lot. Jordan Tyson, I hyped him up a lot last year, kind of under the impression that he was going to play most of the year. That's shame on me, because I definitely overhyped Jordan Tyson for myself and for anyone who follows the podcast. Let's do it again, but not really. We're going to pump the brakes this time around. Definitely a hard lesson for me to learn there. But again, the talent's really exciting. This is probably the fastest player on the roster. One of them for sure. But Jordan Tyson is the explosive guy. I like his upside to be the deep ball, big play player. Xavier Giller is really talented. He showed some glimpses last year, although he's got a bit of the dropsies. But right now, him being like your fourth or fifth receiver is pretty good. Melquan Stovall, also a really reliable guy who came on down the stretch. Would not be surprised if he starts the year as your number 3 receiver behind Badger and Smith. Look for him a lot. Caleb Black, really exciting. He got some touches last year as a freshman. He is coming into this year with interesting kind of role. I'm not really sure how much they're going to use him, but he's got potential. We'll leave it there with the receiver. Then I want to talk about the interior offensive line, because last year where the Sun Devils were decimated across the board by injuries, this year the Sun Devils have more bodies to be able to throw onto the field. So Lee Fontanu, very quality center. Plug and play as far as I'm concerned. You got some good guards that are going to create some competition, though. And there's 4 guys in particular who really stand out to me. The first is Ben Coleman. Coleman missed all of last year with an injury. If he had been good to go, there would have been a very serious argument for him being the best offensive lineman on the roster. He is proven. He's a stud. He's got everything you're looking for. You're plugging him in. There's like no reason he shouldn't be an immediate starter for you. But there's good competition to push him as well as everybody else here. The other 3 guys who stand out to me are Terrell Kim, who's a 3-star coming into the program. Massive dude, 6'3", 328 pounds. He's going to bring some good competition. You've also got Shanko Montatia, who's transferring in from, where did he come from? It's right there. New Mexico? No, Nevada. Yes, New Mexico. Final answer. So he's transferring in from New Mexico. And then you got Semesi Tonga, who is one of the other recruits coming in from Salt Lake City, Utah. He's 6'4", 310. Terrell Kim, if I didn't mention, I don't think I did, 6'3", 228. And then Shanko Montatia is going to be coming in at 6'2", 346. So you got some beef along that offensive line, especially the interior. Outside, that's a whole other conversation. But as far as the interior of the line goes, you got a solidified center, and you got some good competition amongst the offensive guards to be able to push each other. And there's other guys on the roster. These are just the 4 who stood out to me the most as potential guys who could start immediately. So Coleman, that feels like a plug and play for me. If he's 100% healthy, that feels like a plug and play. The rest of the guys, iron sharpens iron. Let's see how they're going to be able to make each other better. Those are 2 of the most deep, talented positions and points of strength for the Sun Devils right now. There's 2 more positions that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You shouldn't have to worry about buying your tickets for the next big event. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. That view from your seat cannot compare. You'll know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Those all-in prices, they're going to show you the total up front. And that way you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Game Time has deals on those same tickets up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute tickets. You can get exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. There's zone deals, so you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings, and the best part is the Game Time guarantee means you're always going to get the best price, because if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. One more time, a shout out to you guys for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. Also, a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. I want you guys to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You're going to be caught up to date on pros, on college, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, all of it. Check it out. Stay up to date. It's fantastic. Let's go ahead and round out this podcast with the final 2 points of strength for this team. First, we're going to go to the running back position. Very, very deep, very, very talented. It starts with Cameron Skattebo. I said Elijhah Badger was Mr. Do-It-All, but Cameron Skattebo is literally Mr. Do-It-All. He catches it. He runs it. Obviously, as a running back, he throws it. He kicks it as a punter. There's nothing Cameron Skattebo can't do for you. He does everything that you ask him to. And then a little bit more, because you're like, hey, can you do this? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. I can call plays. Like, whatever. Like, Cam, can you line up as an edge rusher and drop into coverage? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. That's Cameron Skattebo, Mr. Do-It-All. You have a guy like him on the field, there's so many different things that you can do and be creative with as an offense to throw defenses off. It's not just about Skattebo's versatility. It's about creating the versatility for offensive play calling. Now defenses are going to be second guessing themselves because you got to figure out where number 4 is at all times. He's the people's running back, ladies and gentlemen. They also brought in Raleek Brown. Raleek Brown, a 5-star talent, super high 4-star, depending on where you look, but pretty much universally seen as a 5-star talent from the 2021 cycle, I believe, and comes to Arizona State. And oh man, he is, as far as pure talent is concerned, maybe the most talented player right now on the Sun Devils roster. He is a spark plug at 5'8", 185. I know there's been comparisons to Tavon Austin. I know that Kenny Dillingham has said he likes him to be his Kenneth Gainwell, and Gainwell was a player that he coached at Memphis, but this is your home run guy. As much as I would love to see Jordan Tyson inherit that role right now, Raleek Brown feels like he can take it any single time, every single time, any opportunity, every opportunity that you give him, he's going to be something massive. 20-yard pickup, touchdown, 30-yard reception, 40-yard kick return, whatever. However you get him the ball, Raleek Brown's going to do something with it. And he said himself he wants to be the face of this program. He wants to be the guy that you look back on and go, remember Raleek Brown? He was one of my favorite Sun Devils. That's what he wants to be. Having a guy like him that comes in with that attitude and that mentality, with the talent he possesses, you might have something special here with Raleek Brown. Even beyond that, there's tons of depth. The Carlos Brooks, who missed time last year to injury, if he's 100% healthy, we saw how dynamic him and Cameron Skattebo can be together. Love having him back. Kyson Brown is back. Big fan of his. Really want to see how he gets involved this year as the big bruiser that he is. And then, of course, the prize possession of this recruiting class is running back Jason Brown, coming in from O'Day High School in Seattle, Washington. another spark plug at 5'8", 194. But one of the most intriguing talents that's on the Sun Devils roster right now, and he's obviously a young kid. I have no idea how they're going to get him involved because I could easily see him redshirting behind all of this talent, but I could also see a situation where you just will struggle to keep him off the football field. Having him in such a deep room is just putting a hat on a hat in the best way possible. That is between the receivers and the running backs. That is a great problem to have. And then the final greatest area of strength for this team, flipping to the defensive side of the football. And this is the position I hinted at earlier that would potentially rival the wide receiver spot for the deepest, most talented, biggest point of strength on the team, and that's safety. I know that might shock some people, so let me inform you. This is a unit that, if it plays up to its potential, is going to be otherworldly. But this is a gamble. This absolutely, admittedly, is this could blow up in their face. But this could also end up being a position that's so deep and so talented that it lifts up the entirety of the defense. It's going to start with Xavion Alford. Alford, just like Jake Smith, was, a victim of the NCAA flexing their muscles and feeling good about themselves for enforcing the NCAA ineligibility so that he wasn't able to play last year. Same kind of thing that Jake Smith was going through. There was some stuff behind the scenes and he wasn't able to play right away. Well, he's back. He's got a year learning the playbook. He's got a year getting to know Brian Ward and Brian Carrington. He's going to be a step ahead of somebody who's just now coming into the program. Super, uber talented. He is one of the most talented players on the defensive side of the football. He's certainly one of the most talented players in the safety room and in the secondary period. Shamari Simmons is back. Simmons was a full-time player for the team last year and one of the top 5 leading tacklers for the team. I anticipate that he's going to come back and he's going to be an immediate starter for the Sun Devils. There's no reason why he shouldn't be. When he had a little bit of everything last year, he had some turnovers. He was one of the more reliable players on the team. He's going to be one of the for sure starting safeties. I would tell you right now, he's starting across from Xavion Alford, but there's depth. Kamari Wilson is transferring in from Florida. Wilson was a 4-star talent who did not get as much time as he would want in Gainesville, comes to Arizona State, and he's going to be in another crowded room, but still a very, very talented player nonetheless. You've also got Myles Rouser, who is transferring in, better known as Ghost Rouser from New Mexico State. 4-star out of high school. Again, super talented guy, very good career at New Mexico State. He's just looking for a bigger opportunity at a bigger school, hence his transfer to Arizona State. He is, to me, the biggest rival to Xavion Alford for starting time right now. I feel like Rouser and Simmons makes a lot of sense as you're starting to safeties. Just for the aspect of they've got a lot of playing time between the two of them and a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of, what have you done for me lately? Because Alford missed last year, which isn't his fault, but it's just the way it is. And then, of course, the last guy I want to mention is Montana Warren. Big time fan of Montana Warren, one of the darlings of this podcast during this point in time last year. Missed his entire freshman season with injury that he suffered during the Camp Tonto Zona training camp, and he's back. And if he's back and 100% healthy, this is the way I described him. Was he played in Texas, so he was a 3-star. If he played in any of the other 49 states, he's a 4-star player. Dude was just overshadowed for playing in the state for high school football. He looked every bit as talented during training camp. They lined him up everywhere. He played single high. He played underneath. He played nickel. He played closer to the line of scrimmage. Like, they got every opportunity presented in front of Montana Warren for him to capitalize on, and capitalize he did. So if he's back and healthy, there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to get back to what he was doing before, as long as everything checks off. If it does, watch out. Just watch out for this kid. He's going to absolutely shock the world. I am beyond excited for what Montana Warren is going to bring for the future of this program. I don't know what it looks like this year with all the depth that they have, but what I do know is this Sun Devils team has no shortage of talent at the safety spot. They're loaded at safety. They're loaded at running back. They're loaded at receiver. They have good interior line depth, and they've got quality quarterback depth. Those are the biggest areas of strength that the Sun Devils have heading into the season, according to me. I want to know what positions you guys think the Sun Devils have the most depth at. So leave a comment if you're on YouTube. You can always hit me up on Twitter. You can find me at Richie Bradshaw36, the podcast as well, at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your podcast, though, hit like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. We'll be back again tomorrow to make up for a lack of a Tuesday and Wednesday episode, as I was sick. We will be back tomorrow. We will be going to the opposite side of things and talking about the biggest areas of concern heading into the offseason, heading into spring ball with a little over 2 months left to go. We'll be taking a look at that tomorrow, so make sure you tuned in. I'll see you then. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked